We looked at the idea of simulation, and in that video I made the comment, or I used the term empirical probabilities. So let's now take a few minutes and define just exactly what empirical versus theoretical probabilities actually are. In empirical probability, start with empirical. Empirical probability is a probability of event as it was observed. Sometimes this is referred to as experimental probabilities. Experimental probabilities and empirical probabilities, they mean exactly the same thing, two terms for the same thing, because it's obtained from running an experiment, such as a simple experiment of tossing a single coin, or two coins, or three coins, or what have you. Notation-wise, this is a probability statement. And what this means is, in English, the probability of heads. Now you see this little caret on the top, called a hat? We would say the probability of heads, but we'd also add to it, because of that hat, the empirical probability of heads. That little hat there, we would commonly refer to it as simply P hat. That little hat simply means that it is in fact empirical. If it's theoretical, and I'll show you in just a moment, that little hat thing would not be there. Quite often we simply write P hat as the probability in experimental probability. This is a probability statement, saying the probability specifically of heads, the empirical probability of heads. Again, this is a result of an experiment, something that we actually do, count up the results and say, here's a probability. Now, theoretical probability, in contrast, is actually the true probability of a specific event. And it's determined, or actually proved, I guess you could say, mathematically. In the empirical probability, we don't really prove anything. We run a bunch of experiments and we estimate. We use the empirical probabilities to estimate what theoretical probabilities actually are, because sometimes we can't actually determine mathematically what a theoretical probability should be. Notation-wise, it's the exact same thing as we did before, only there's no hat. So this again is read as the probability of heads, or the probability of observing a head. And because there's no hat here, this is the theoretical. So you could say the theoretical probability of a head. Now the true probability is the Greek letter pi. And remember, the empirical probability, we used P hat. P hat is used to estimate pi, the true probability. Empirical probability, true probability. In an upcoming video, I'll actually take the idea of tossing two or three coins and determine the theoretical probability, which we can compare with the empirical probability based on our simulation that we did earlier.